Hi, welcome. I am Sue Moody. I'm mortgage officer at Citywide Home Mortgage. And we are here today at Live Oak doing a segment, Mocha, Mortgages, and More. My special guest today is Rachel Belgiorno.
Hello.
She is a realtor from Reinhardt Real Estate Partners. And we're here today just to talk about the market, hot topics in mortgages, real estate, just trying to answer some questions for you. So
Rachel, let's start with you. And what is the hot topic in real estate? What is your number one question being asked right now?
Right now, this moment,
Yes.
how's the real estate market and how's the new practices changing what we do?
Which is a very
I can say a lot.
which is a very confusing topic right now.
with the buyer's agent's commission, and the seller's agent commission, and a whole new law came about this where you can't even show a house to a potential buyer right now without them signing a contract, correct?
Correct. So the new practices actually, what that entails is buyer's agents now must have an exclusive buyer agency in place with a buyer before they can show them a home. And sellers, if they are paying any type of commission or professional fee to the buyer broker, they need to make sure that it is not advertised on any type of multiple listing service. Now, that does not mean that a buyer agent cannot phone the listing agent and say, hey, is your seller cooperating with a buyer broker? And the answer can be yes, and how much. But it cannot be advertised in any way, shape, or form on a multiple listing service. And what that means for the buyer, shall I go on? Is that a buyer may now be responsible for
Having to have a fee professional fee to a buyer agent. In the past, technically it was always the buyer that paid for it because without a buyer paying for a home, the seller doesn't have any money. But to make it easier for the buyer to be able to have that happen, they were able to put it on the seller's line item so that they could technically finance
that buyer agency or professional fee. So now it's just a little different, but a lot of the sellers are still more than happy to cooperate because honestly, it just opens up their opportunity to be able to have the full spectrum of the market for buyers that might not be as lucrative in terms of having flush cash flow or things like that. So
I know a lot of the forums that I was reading, some of the public is going, well, why would we even use a realtor at this point with all this crazy laws? And what I don't think people realize is the importance and all the work that a realtor does for them. And it's a lot. And would you like to highlight a couple of those?
Sure.
Because it's not just publishing your house and taking a few pictures and putting it on the MLS and hoping somebody goes and looks at it. It's a lot more. It's staging. It's talking to the agents in your office. And I have a list that's like 190 items that we could touch on the importance, but
well, I think as a listing agent, it's really important for sellers to understand that they can't just automatically put their home into the MLS.
I see homes all the time that listed for sale by that have been sitting because they don't have the broad spectrum of the market available. I figure for every agent that is in an office, and even if they're brand new, they have probably one buyer.
And if they're seasoned, they could have 10 buyers. And we have, for instance, at Reinhardt Real Estate Partners, we have 40-something agents. So multiply that times, let's just say 10. You're already up to 400 potential buyers that you wouldn't have had if you did not list with just one of our agents. So that's just one example, but it's not just listing a home. I do stage every home that I list, and I make sure it's literally pristine. It's kind of like putting a car on the market. You would never do that without detailing it with a professional. Same thing with a house. And so I make sure all that's done. I order the title work. I make sure I communicate with the buyer, agent, there's so many things that we talk about that sellers and buyers don't even realize that we're having these conversations. You know, I am promoting that seller. I have a fiduciary responsibility to that seller, and a buyer broker now has a fiduciary responsibility to that buyer as well. So there's just so much involved. And, you know, when you're showing homes,
You get to know that buyer, you have multiple conversations. I mean, how many lawyers do you know don't charge you for a 10-minute phone call?
they charge you. So anytime you call your agent, you're probably asking them questions. And the reason why we know those is because of our education, our experience. I mean, our advice is instrumental in your success. So it's not just showing you a home and making an offer. It's everything from start to finish, and it can be a year-long process. And I don't know many people that work for a year without any type of, you know, compensation. So it's important that you understand what you're paying for, and you know, you should be having those conversations with your agent.
So to lead back to, we kind of touched on this a little bit, is evaluating, is it the right time to refinance? Is it the right time to buy a house? And if we look at the national average, what NAR is, National Association of Realtors, is predicting is roughly a 4 to 4.5% increase in home values over the next 18 months. And so if we use that formula, and I have a great program that I use that will take the purchase price now, their closing costs now, and then they look at that 4 to 4.5% increase in their home values in 18 months, and then take the refinance fees, because they're predicting rates are coming down, right? So buying now versus instead of waiting for the rates to come down, and then just refinancing in 18 months. And what this formula does for them is it prints out what their net gain or net loss is to buy now versus waiting the 18 months for rates
Because
to
the
come down.
4.5% increase could potentially offset their cost.
Correct. So it's very evident, as you can imagine, on the sales price of the house, because that determines the amount of the 4.5%, right?
Right, yeah.
And so what I have found the sweet spot to be is roughly about a purchase price of about 160,000. If it's over that, a lot of times they're a net gain. They're ahead with their appreciation in the home value versus their cost to refinance. Because you know, that house, if they wait 18 months, could cost them more.
Right. Well, there's not a lot out there right now for less than 160.
Right.
So what you're saying is anyone who wants to buy should buy now.
Exactly, especially for Midland County, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm speaking strictly for Midland County. There's stuff out there, but so prices have definitely gone up. Well, when people ask me if they should buy now or wait, you know, it's really a self-evaluation and an economical evaluation, as well as a commitment level evaluation. Let's be honest. I mean, if you're going to purchase a home and you're thinking a 2-year plan, this market might not be the best time to buy, because 2 years is not a lot of time after you pay your closing costs and whatnot. But based on what Sue just said, if it's over 160,000, you might be just fine. But it's really just a personal decision in my mind. You know, whether you buy now or later. You have to talk to your financial advisor and your loan officer to know for sure. And then when you decide what is best for you, I'm here to help.
And so am I, Sue Moody, mortgage officer, Citywide Home Mortgage, and that's a wrap.